Yes, people, welcome back to the channel where we're talking about Chelsea after Sunderland went to Stamford Bridge, got the 3 points, and put Chelsea in the dark. They even had Matisse saying farewell to the game. He'll be back. All it takes is a couple wins. But right now, Chelsea have lost at home to Sunderland. They had won 4 in a row coming into this game. It was a moment, it was an opportunity for them to go into the top 3 in the table. You know, the pressure was on, technically, at home, in front of the home fans, taking on a Sunderland team that are good at the Stadium Light, but their away record has not been great. Chelsea should be winning that game. And yesterday, that defeat was poor. That is a poor result for Chelsea Football Club. And I think, this sort of result epitomizes Chelsea, if I'm honest with you, because part of me wasn't shocked about the result. I don't know how other fans are feeling about this if you're Chelsea fans watching this, but part of me wasn't shocked because I look at Chelsea and you can beat Liverpool at home at Stamford Bridge, but you always know that they've got a result like this in them. Similar to Tottenham as well. Tottenham can do great things by going to Manchester City and winning at the Etihad, but then they'll go home to Wolves and draw. And, this is the Premier League. This is the level of competition we're now at because obviously a lot of teams are improving. A lot of teams are getting better. Every game is becoming difficult to win. But I'm sorry, as the Club World Cup champions and being at home to a team of the nature of Sunderland, Chelsea should be winning that game. And yesterday, that was a poor result. But is it a poor result when you look at the Chelsea squad? Look at the team. Look at the transfers they brought in. And this is why I said to people, when they were saying in the summer that Chelsea would be in a title race, or some of their fans were trying to say that, that's what they should be aiming for and whatnot. I was like, calm down. Top 4 and securing Champions League football this season is realistic. It's a positive aim. And then you try and win a domestic cup like a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup. And that will still be signs of progress. Because I'm sorry, but that Club World Cup seems to have fooled a lot of people into thinking that they're ready to compete with Arsenal, with Manchester City for the Premier League title. They're not ready yet. But that doesn't mean they're not a good team or heading in the right direction. They're just not ready. And I'm here to basically highlight why. Because yesterday, give credit to Sunderland. They came there, defended with a back 5, they changed their approach. They had Xhaka and Siddiqui in midfield. They went with Isidore up top by himself. And, it worked for Sunderland. They frustrated Chelsea, limited them to any clear-cut chances really throughout the game. And then in the second half, throw on Brian Bobby, throw on Talby as well, bring in a bit of pace, a bit of strength. And look what they done. A great smash and grab in the last minute. And them limbs, by the way, in that away end were brilliant. I love that. So credit to Sunderland, the fans that made that journey down. Big up you lot, because that would have been a day that you'll never forget. But for Chelsea, that was a poor result. That was a poor result to the point that you've seen now Man United go above you lot. And people are saying this is the worst Man United in a long time. But this is why I'm quite concerned about Chelsea. And look, it'll be interesting to see what you guys think in the comments. But I just want to look at your transfer window and what you're doing at the moment. So you've got João Pedro in for 63 million euros, right? We're going to do this by euros. 63 million euros. You brought João Pedro in, who had a strong start to the season, was looking nice in the 9 role. Then he went into the 10 role when Cole Palmer's been out. But in the last few games, if I'm honest with you, he's kind of fallen out of form. He's kind of taken a little dip. And I feel like João Pedro is that type of player. He's quite streaky. He's never going to be consistent throughout the whole season. The way he plays, quite languid, quite stylish. He needs everything to kind of be working around him for him to then thrive. And at the moment, João Pedro is not delivering in the 9 or the 10 role. And you've got Jamie Gittens, he signed, a young player, 20 years of age from Dortmund, really only had 1 full season at Dortmund in the Bundesliga. And you paid 56 million euros for him, yet he couldn't start yesterday. He then came off the bench, but he's not exactly doing things that you're making you think, wow, do you know what? Like, yeah, that was worth every penny. You then look further down. You've got Alejandro Garnacho now. I said as a Man United fan, I'm so happy to see him go to Chelsea because within a few games, I think Chelsea are going to see that he's very limited. He doesn't really take on his player 1v1. He hasn't really got as much pace as you think he has. His end product is not the best, even though he did score yesterday and got his first goal for the club. But I feel like when you're paying that money for Chelsea, as a winger to come in and start, I feel like you're going to want more because I had a big sample size of Garnacho. And I've always said a better impact sub than he is a starter. And then you've got Esteval, who for me, is the one that's actually being misused because Esteval is the one at, his young age, that when he comes on the pitch, he looks like he's creative. He looks like he can take on a man. He looks like he's direct. He has no fear. Why is he not starting? Why is he not playing? I'm so confused. I don't know, Chelsea fans. You could maybe answer this. Is he trying to ease him in? What is it? Because Esteban scored obviously in the Champions League, got his first goal. But when he's come on for Chelsea and when he's played, he looks like the bright spark. Even his performance against West Ham when he came in when Cole Palmer got injured in the warm-up. Esteban, for me, looks like the best winger at Chelsea at the moment, alongside probably Pedro Neto, you would say for now, because Pedro Neto has the Premier League experience. He's a bit more consistent. He gives you that work hard. Why is Pedro Neto and Esteban not the starting wingers and then Gittins and Garnacho off the bench? For me, that's a simple change that I think benefits Chelsea and makes them better, and something that I think the fans would then get on board with when it comes to Enzo Maresca and his team selection and his decisions, because Esteban should definitely be playing. Liam Delap is probably one of the ones that's a big miss right now, because obviously you've got, Gu starting up front, who was on loan at Sunderland, funny enough, comes back 24 days after the loan, and then he's starting against them, obviously on the losing side. But, with Chelsea, Nicholas Jackson going, João Pedro not quite the out-and-out number 9. You've got Gu's coming from a loan, so really they didn't want him at the club. Liam Delap would be leading the line right now. And yeah, it might be a lot of pressure on Liam Delap to come in now and say, right, you've got to start delivering. But I feel like he will thrive under that pressure. He gives you that old school feel. He can hold it up. He's a bit of a target man. He can run in behind. And I feel like the more games he gets at Chelsea, the better he'll be. But I feel like they need Liam Delap, because I'm not saying it's a crisis at Chelsea. They'd won 4 in a row before coming into this game. But you looked at their fixtures for the next 4 or 5, and on Never a Foul, make sure you subscribe to Never a Foul as well. I was saying this is the opportunity to win 5 in a row, put a bit of pressure on their rivals, get that run together. They've got Sunderland, they've got Wolves, they've got Burnley, Spurs away in that run, and they had Forest. You're looking at that on paper and you're thinking, Chelsea have the quality to go out and win that. But they haven't showcased it yet. And this is why I've got to say with Chelsea, you've got to expect these results. You're going to win some great games and you're going to lose some games where you think, how are we losing that? Because I look at your transfer window, and going back to my main point about it, is he signed a lot of young players, but where is the experience? Delap 22, Hato 19, Esteval 18, Garnacho 21, Gittins 20, and Pedro 23. Now, when you have testing moments at a football club, which is always going to happen, even if you're the best club or the worst club, you then got to rely on the experienced players to try and pull you through that, galvanize you. And right now, their experienced players is an injured Reece James normally, but he's come back, and at the moment he's playing quite decent. But you've got to hope he stays fit. You've got a Caicedo who's still under 25. You've got Enzo who's still under 25. Cole Palmer, who is literally probably like 23, 24 at this age. You're not looking at Chelsea and thinking they've got 27 to 29 to 31-year-olds that at times can just pull you through, which you do need. Their centre-backs are young as well. You've got Achampong starting, who's a teenager. I'm sorry, but you've got to expect Chelsea to fumble in some of these games because they haven't got that strong foundation and core set. They're literally relying on 3 players. For me, Caicedo is an absolute demon. He's one of the best midfielders in the league, but he can't do everything. You need to give him support. You need to help him as well. Allow him to have the best opportunity to flourish. And right now, that probably means starting Enzo and starting Lavia next to him and playing a 3-man midfield and just making it a bit more solid. Maybe going to a 4-3-3. Reece James, you can't overplay him because then he gets injured again. But you need Reece James to kind of stay consistent, to stay fit. Enzo needs to do a little bit more in the final third because I think Chelsea are missing that creativity. João Pedro, as probably one of the senior players in the big signings, you need to hit some form again. So when you look at Chelsea, I think when you're looking at their key players, there's 3 or 4 of them that they're going to be turning to saying, right, can you stand up and help us in these moments? Because that game against Sunderland, you shouldn't be drawing that and then losing it in the last minute. I just don't think it's good enough. And, these results aren't going to shock me throughout the season with Chelsea. And this is why at the start of the season, I said that they will lose some games. Games that you don't expect them to do it because they haven't got that experience. They haven't got them that squad depth off the bench with the experience to change it. It'll be interesting to see what happens, obviously, when players do come back. But right now, they're getting through games. But, credit to Sunderland yesterday because I think they showed a lot of Chelsea fans that you're still missing a few pieces of the jigsaw. Maresca still making maybe a few wrong decisions. So, yeah, let's see what happens with Chelsea. But I wanted to talk in it because that result didn't shock me yesterday. But it comes back to the window and the foundation they put in place to take them through the season after the Club World Cup. I think they could have done more. I think they could have got better. But let's see what you guys think in the comments. and let me know. But guys, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe. Chelsea have lost to Sunderland, and they need to bounce back against Tottenham next week. Should be a cracker. Take care, and I'll see you soon.